Hello, my beautiful gemstones. Welcome back to Tuesday's afternoon talk. Ghost Dragon, stop. You're distracting me. He's in the background being Ghost Dragons. Area 51, welcome. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm just going to ramble for a minute or two, let everyone file in. We have our legendary cryptozoologist friend back, Ryan Paul Tremblay. I am so excited to have him here again. What's up, Slow Motion? Good evening. It's 1:03 p.m. here, but I know you're in Ireland, which is still so awesome. So I had a pretty interesting day. Every once in a while, I'll stumble upon a song that like I get stuck on, and then I just sat here listening to the song over and over again for an hour and like crying. I don't know what about this song affected me. I think it's called Stay in the Truck, and it's like a country song or whatever, and I think it speaks about like domestic violence and stuff, and I think being a survivor of that, this song really struck a chord with me. So I put the glasses on because my makeup was a little runny. I really was feeling the song. Lotus, what's up? Yes, I know you did not beep through my do not disturb, so I must have my volume down. Also, really quick, before I bring the guys in, I just want to say, with the shorts I've been doing lately, people were a little concerned yesterday when I did the head, what her head would look like on a stick. I was quoting from a favorite movie of mine called American Psycho, where the main character of the movie was quoting Ed Gein. So it wasn't Gemma saying that I imagine what a pretty girl's head looks like on a stick. I was quoting a favorite movie line, and I guess a lot of you have never seen the movie because you guys are like, are you all right? You're texting me like, are you like, I'm not homicidal. I was simply quoting from the movie. Roger, what is up? Yes, take a break from mowing. Come hang out with us. What's up, Diane? We're going to talk about Dyatlov Pass, and I think the Mothman too. Wherever the chat goes, we're just going to let y'all kind of steer it. I do have something pulled up on Dyatlov Pass so we can kind of get into the story and see Ryan's take on it, because I am of the opinion that it was the Russian government that purposefully put those people in the position to be attacked by Bigfoot or Yetis, purposely scared them into attacking. There were loud bangs or bomb sounds. It was blaringly obvious to me, but I don't know anything about it. So let me bring in the guys. Yeah, I love American Psycho. It's a classic.
Hello, I guess.
Hello, you guess. What?
Yeah, like, excuse us. Like,
yeah, right. We can go away.
Thank you, Miss Lotus Girl. Yeah, you want to be here? We're not cool enough for him with his 70s police officer shades. Which, by the way, I'm digging. But you do look like either a 70s porn star or a 70s cop, or maybe
mustache needs to be thicker, though.
Yeah, you didn't even. I should have said corn, but I did say corn. Everyone heard it. Ryan, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming in. Area 51 is pumped. He says Dyatlov Pass is my favorite case. I'm excited.
Ooh,
I wanted to, in the last week, go over that documentary I was talking about, but I didn't have a chance. So I did hold up something from the internet. Let's just start here. Got? Like, can you give us a rundown of the case? In case
so I mean, basically it was some experienced hikers and skiers. They knew what they were doing, and they went out for a trip, and they didn't report back in time, and when people started looking for them, they found their bodies, and they don't know really what happened to them, and we can't get the story straight. I don't think we ever will.
They had some pretty severe injuries. I know that. So from what I remember of the documentary, for some reason I just got really winded. They said that there was like an extra guy who wasn't really supposed to be there. He was much older, because this group was students being led by a guide or something, like I don't want to say a tour guide, but a guide that was leading these students through the Urals. And there was another guy who like joined on at the last minute. And for some reason, he had 2 cameras on him. Now, nowadays, we're like, whatever, 2 cameras. But back then, the cameras he had were like between $600 and like $1,000, I think. And he had 2 of them. And there were random photos being taken of everyone there. There weren't it wasn't, there were some group photos, like normal photos, but there were other that looked kind of like surveillance shots from what I could see. Like he was on them. And there was this connection between that guy's brother and the Russian government. They had the guy killed. I don't really get into conspiracy, but they did have documentation, photo evidence in the documentary, right? So that's what kind of reeled me in. I'm like the Credible Hulk. You need facts to back up your sources, or I rage.
True.
Yeah. So then, but the thing that got me the most was there was a picture, and I know some of you guys have said it's been debunked, but I don't believe it has. That very clearly looked to me like a Yeti, or I call them all Bigfoot, but I think the right term for that region would be Yeti. And what I came to understand is that the Russian government was running some kind of experiment that was like way back. Some dictator had gotten hold of a Yeti, and it was a lot. I wish I would have watched it and took notes, but I didn't because of who I am as a human being. And I'm a mess all the time, hot mess. So they sent them out kind of like as bait. And then there was photo evidence of like, and people in the area heard like loud blasts happening right in that area. I believe they said green lights, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. And people believe now that the government set off these loud bombing sounds to freak the Yetis out, have them come running from the woods and attack these people. One was missing their tongue. One had the impact in its chest as though it had gotten like slammed by a Mack truck. What do you think?
You know, so the photo you're talking about, like, I think it's been debunked to a degree, but not all the way. I mean, the reason we can't say it's been totally debunked is because we don't know yet. And they're always coming up with these new theories about what happened there. And it's interesting you mentioned the bombs going off, because one of the newest theories they have is that it was a rogue bomb that went off, and it had I think it was like citric acid mist or something like that. But if it was a acid mist, how come their bodies weren't dissolved? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
And how would that pull their tongue out? It wasn't like the tongue was found. The tongue was gone, I believe. Right. And the impact is what got me. What could have possibly happened? I mean, they ripped themselves out of their tents. They weren't clawing and ripping to get into the tent. They were clawing and ripping to get out. They ran outside, some in their underwear, some wearing one sock, and it was snowing. It was like, the middle of winter.
It was freezing. It was cold. Yeah.
Area 51. Yeah, that's what it was called. So the documentary I'm talking about is Yeti Massacre.
Picture right
and there's the alleged photo.
Right.
Ghostdragonzw, what do you think about all of this?
My question is, see, to me, this has always looked like a guy in a jumpsuit or a winter suit.
I see that.
It's hard to tell. I've seen people try to blow it up and it gets all fuzzy.
Yeah, then it gets too distorted.
Yeah, it gets pixelated. But if you really study the picture, they had really interesting winter uniforms for the military and the Soviets. Some of it was really white or like dark colors. So they would blend in really well with the environment.
True.
This looks like a jumpsuit, a winter jumpsuit to me. But there's thoughts, because you can't really see it, that could be all fur. And then they said it was debunked, that this picture is not actually part of the pictures. But every time I go and research this picture comes up a lot. So I don't. And see, the Russian government has already closed this case. They don't even want to talk about it anymore.
Right. And that's what makes it weird too. Let me just read a tiny bit of what I have, guys. I have a lot here. It says, have scientists finally unraveled the 60-year mystery surrounding 9 Russian hikers' deaths, right? And then it says, in February of 1959, university student Mikhail Sharavin made an unexpected discovery on the slopes of the Ural Mountains. Dispatched as a member of a search party investigating a group of 9 experienced hikers' disappearance, Sharavin and his fellow rescuers spotted the corner of a tent peeking out beneath the snow. And he told BBC News They found supplies inside, including a flask of vodka, a map, and a plate of sallow, which is white pork fat, all seemingly abandoned without warning. A slash in the side of the tent suggested that someone had used a knife to carve out an escape route from within, which I don't believe that's true. I believe there was evidence that it was carved from the outside, but that's what this is saying. This is from Smithsonian Magazine. While footprints leading away from the shelter indicated that some of the mountaineers had ventured out into sub-zero temperatures barefoot or with only a single boot and socks. And in the coming weeks, guys, I'm going to be covering this whole thing on my channel. So a little bit more, it says, perplexed, the search party decided to toast to the missing group's safety with the flask found in their tent. So they're drinking their vodka. He says, quote, "We shared the vodka out between us. There were 11 of us, including the guides. We were about to drink it when one guy turned to me and said, 'Best not drink to their health, but to their eternal peace,'" end quote. Over the next several months, rescuers recovered all 9 hikers' bodies. 2 of the men were found barefoot and only clad in their underwear, while the majority of the group appeared to have died of hypothermia. At least 4 had sustained horrific and inexplicable injuries, including a fractured skull, broken ribs, and a gaping gash to the head. One woman was missing both her eyeballs and her tongue. The wounds, said a doctor who examined the bodies, were, quote, "equal to the effect of a car crash," end quote, according to documents later obtained by St. Petersburg Times. So let's stop there. That's crazy.
That is. I mean, that whole explanation of how it was a rogue bomb, you know, that had the acidic fog, that doesn't line up at all. That doesn't line up one bit.
Nick, thanks for coming in. Good to see you. Anyone else that I may have missed? I think a lot of it doesn't line up, and I think that's why there's a lot of conspiracy surrounding this case. I think immediately, from what I understand, the Russian government would not talk about it. Like, they didn't want anyone. I think at first they had some really weird explanation, like it had been an avalanche. There were so many things that they tried to attribute to what happened to these hikers. And when I watched Yeti Massacre, I was thinking, okay, when I first went into it, before I even watched it, I was like, Dyatlov Pass is obviously something to do with like ETs. I don't know why I thought that. I only knew what everyone else knows, like the overview and like what the news wants you to know about it. After watching it, I'm just convinced that those Yetis were kind of triggered into attacking these poor people. I told you last week about the other group that went and the woman survived. Her friend's eyes started bleeding. They were bashing their heads against the stones and she covered her ears, closed her eyes, and ran in the same area of the mountain.
Yep, you did tell me that. I remember that. But, you know, if it was a Yeti, though, I mean, how come it didn't just eat it their whole body, though? It just took the tongue and the eyes from one lady? I mean, I don't know. I still lean towards the extraterrestrial thing. I mean, aliens might be a possibility.
That was my first thought when just with the overview, I was like, I think some sort of experiment went wrong, or did the ETs somehow trigger, and we're getting a little wild here, but like maybe not, stranger things have happened. Did the ETs somehow trigger the Yeti? So they're down there experimenting and, you know, something goes wrong. I just felt from the very beginning that this was not malicious, but that somehow they saw maybe something coming down in the sky and ran out their tents in a hurry because they were terrified, trying to hide behind rocks, or maybe just trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. And the ETs did something to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible, really, because I mean, really, look at the avalanche theory, it doesn't line up with the injuries they had. You know, I mean, an avalanche is going to crush you. You're going to definitely show signs of being crushed in an avalanche. You're not going to have your eyes missing or your tongue missing. So that's a theory. It doesn't really make much sense at all. It really does not.
Yeah, of course. And they were saying that because I guess the tent, like a piece of the tent flap was found sticking out. That's how they found them. But how much longer did they find them? It snows constantly there. It would make sense that their bodies and everything would be covered in snow because they didn't find them right away. I mean, it took some time, 9 months.
Or the avalanche was used to cover up the bodies after they were killed. You know, I think the avalanche was a cover story. I don't think it was the actual cause. I think it was a cover up. So
that actually makes sense.
Yeah,
guys,
I mean, if you don't want the bodies found, so.
I'll show you.
Yeah, no, and if you want your story to be true, like there was an avalanche, guys, and like who really thinks of dates? You know what I'm saying? We don't think like, oh, the avalanche was on April 5th, and most of the population is not going to think that way. We might, but most of the population is just going to be like, whatever, okay, that makes sense to us, and move on. You know,
Actually,
and I think
I have
that's what the
pictures.
Russian government want it to happen. Yeah.
Mhm.
I do have pictures of some of the bodies, but I'm not going to show them.
Yeah, don't show
those.
Yeah, no. You'll get in trouble for that.
You guys can easily find them. Yeah, you can easily find them with a quick
Oh, yeah,
Google
they're
or
everywhere.
search.
And they were all experienced
the
hikers,
pictures
too.
of the porch, which was all the people that were there.
Mhm.
Personally,
Yeah, Ryan, like you said, they were all very experienced, which also made it kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to camp where there's
why
an
didn't the
avalanche.
Yeti... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Why would they camp where there would be an avalanche? You know, they're going to know well enough. Well, don't camp here because if an avalanche happens, we're right in its path. They knew better than to do that. So it doesn't make sense. The whole avalanche thing.
That was supposed to be helping them figure that stuff out too. Because again, there were students, the guide would have known that's what the guide was for, to kind of guide them away from doing something stupid. Also, I'm thinking now, they found pork fat. Wouldn't that be like the first thing the Yetis go for? It's food.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so that makes sense too. Why was that left behind? Now we know extraterrestrials, or I hope most of you guys know, they don't eat our food. Normally they have like a little gel substance, or they don't need to eat. So they're not going to take the pork fat. To them, that's gross, you know?
No, and pork fat, though, I mean, you actually look at
the bodies, I've had several people look at found the autopsies and stuff, and said that the bodies actually looked like cow mutilations, that everything that was taken from them was surgically done.
That's a good point, too. That's a valid point.
That's so crazy. Ryan, you were saying something. I'm sorry.
Okay, the pork fat, when you cook that stuff, you know, that stuff is really aromatic. Like, you're going to smell that for miles.
Right?
So when they started cooking it, you know, the Yeti might have been like, oh, what is that, man? Ooh, that smells like bacon. You know, I mean, I'd be going out there, too.
Yeah, to see what it is. I'm one of those people that like eats the fat off pork, and like I like the fat. It's like I'll like purposely make it well done so I could eat it. I don't know. Area 51 says that tent looks like they shoveled snow on top of it, and look at the surrounding.
It does, actually. It does look like they had.
Well, it also had snowed too, so that's how they found it.
Yeah, it looks a bit contrived, I think is the point. Wasn't the name of the place Don't Go There? Let me look that up. Is that true, Ryan?
Basically.
I need to look it up. I've got Ryan.
Yeah, it was a place that they didn't want people to go. And usually when they don't want you to go to a certain area, there's a reason for it. So, you know, it might have been one of
a lot of
sacrificial
land there. Yeah. A lot of sightings.
Funny thing is, though,
just before that happened, they were seeing bright glowing orbs in that area, hovering above that area.
Yep. Funny thing is, though, with the Russians, though, Bigfoot isn't seen as like an evil thing. The Almas are considered to be really friendly. So
why were these so aggressive? Can you explain that?
Yeah, the Almas is basically it's a Mongolian word that means wild man. So it's their word for something like Bigfoot. Okay. So you know, why were they
so aggressive? Theory as to why they were so aggressive. So if you watch, and again, guys, I'm paraphrasing because I haven't seen the documentary in months, and I'm just kind of going by memory, but I remember things that stuck out for me. So I think it was Stalin, but I'm not sure. I don't know much about Russia. Like, I'm not that woman. But I don't know about things and stuff, guys. But there's this tale out there. I don't want to say theory because I think there is a little bit of proof that it happened, that they were experimenting on the Yetis to try to turn them into super soldiers, knowing that they used that infrasound that we were talking about last week. And guys, if you missed the last 2 weeks, go back and watch after this. Really interesting stuff we uncovered and we talked about. But that they were experimenting on them. But then once something happened in that area where he was forced out, they just released these super aggressive, militant, experimented on Yetis back into the wild. Smart. But then if that were true, why weren't they just attacking everybody that came there? These students weren't the only ones who hiked and camped those mountains, I don't think. Or am I wrong?
No, a lot of people didn't go to that area, but it could also be that they were, you know, extremely well trained, that, you know, they had to have triggers in order to be attacking somebody. So maybe these students triggered them somehow. You know, we don't know what the triggers
those loud sounds and those lights triggered them. I go from ET to Yeti and back. I know for
that's the same with me. I bounce around on theory. I'm like, ooh, it's this. I can't make up my mind on it yet.
Yeah, I'm just leaving my mind blank about it as mysterious. It's just there's too many things that it could be, and there's too many things that it couldn't be. And my view on the whole thing is, I think it was a mix of things. I think, well, actually, my personal opinion is the government were involved with something ET like out there.
There you go.
And they just happened to wander in the wrong place where they were, that place is a spooky place anyways. It's had rumors for decades. They knew they were going. It wasn't like nobody knew they were going there. Everybody knew they were going there. So were they used as experiments?
I think they were, because why else would that extra guy have been there with 2 extremely expensive cameras? Like I said, they had found a connection between that guy's brother had like crossed either the Russian mob or the government. I can't even remember, guys, and had been killed. And to make sure that he did not get killed for his brother's sins, quote unquote, he was sent out there like, you spy on these kids, you get this information. You're not really there for the kids. You're there to see what's going on in the area, the Yetis, anything in the sky. And then when you get back, your debt is clean. You go on your merry way. And I believe he was there for some reason involving what eventually ended up happening. I don't think he caused it. I don't think he was aware of it. But I think he was put there, like he was taking pictures of things that were not the group. I mean, they were out there taking a lot of pictures of themselves, hugging, arms around one another, their tents, all this stuff. And this guy's taking pictures of the dark woods. Why?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because they tried to blame the nomads that ran that area, the tribe.
Yeah, they did. That's true.
For a long time. Yes, they did.
Oh, yeah.
That was considered part of their land, but they wouldn't even go there. They didn't like going there.
Nope. That was a forbidden place for them.
Yes.
So Total wants to know, what about wild animals? I don't think there was any sign of animal predation except for the missing eyes and tongue, right?
Right. And there wasn't really a lot of wild animals up there anyway. So
they weren't dragged around. Their clothes pieces, you know what I mean? It was, and my thing is, they broke out of the tent. Contrary to what's out there, I do believe that I could picture myself. I've never been camping. I think glamping sounds amazing. Not too sure about actual camping, but I think I'd do it. But I'm thinking, if I were in a tent in the middle of the wild, right, in the snow, the only thing that's getting me out of that tent, including if something comes up and starts hitting the tent, I'm not breaking out of the tent. But if I see lights coming from the sky, if I hear noises coming from around me that are not of an animal, of something that's recognizable to me, to my human ears, then I'm going to get out. Or maybe something was pushing on the other side of it or pulling on the other side of it, and they got out that end.
Yep, that's also true. Too. Yeah,
this is true too. They have found numbers of symbols on trees on the outlines of the of the area. The natives do not like it.
The natives
I called them nomads because that's basically what they are, nomads. They travel a lot. They go back and forth. They don't stay in one place for too long.
There's probably a reason for that too. So
yes.
Interesting. Slow Motion says the locals also reported finding deer with their tongues ripped out.
Just like cow mutilations.
Yep.
Was it an experiment first, like letting these things into the wild to see what they do, and then triggering them to see if they would attack, maybe seeing if they could pull them out to get them back into captivity? Were they seeing how much they were programmed to attack at this bang or this light flashing or whatever this is? And then I go like, okay, Bigfoot and UFOs, people are constantly asking me if I think they're connected. I always say, I don't think so. I think they're aware of one another, what the other is. But I don't think they like work together and commiserate. One thing is one and the other is the other. And we've discussed that before too.
Yeah, we did.
Where is this place? I don't know anything about it.
A lot of the theories just don't line up in my mind. Like the whole, like I was saying, the avalanche thing doesn't line up. The missile with the acidic stuff, that doesn't line up, because if it was acidic, it's going to melt away the bodies and the clothes and even the tent.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, acid will eat through anything, especially like a misty acid.
Especially
like a fog of acid come in on you. It would just dissolve everything.
Yeah,
so
there would be no evidence except puddles, maybe.
Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, there's gonna be nothing
like
left. I mean, if it's acid, it's gonna eat away the flesh, the bones, the muscle. There's gonna
it's
be
not
like
just going to go
It's gonna
into
be
the
jello.
mouth and eyes, you know? Yeah,
No,
I would never thought of
it's
that. I would have been like,
weird.
oh, maybe, but that makes sense. Total
No.
says, where is this place? I don't know anything about it. So Total, you can go on Investigation Discovery, or I think it's Fubo, and you can stream the documentary called Yeti Massacre. You can text me for the info. I'm telling you, it's so interesting. Or you can Google Dyatlov Pass. It's 60 some odd years. It's never been solved.
Nope.
And it really is a tragedy, because we think about it as this big case, this giant thing just looming over history, in the annals of history. Like there's this case, like Maura Murray, like John Benet Ramsey, Madeleine McCann. You know, it's in there with like, what if I could ask one question of the universe and get it answered? This would probably be one of the ones I'd want to ask. I'd have to consider it. But these were real people, and they were young people with their whole lives ahead of them. Their families deserve to at least know what happened to them. And I think eventually that'll come to pass, but I just don't see it, especially in Russia. They're not really forthcoming with their citizens. And I think they know exactly what happened, but they're never going to tell.
Well, see, the KGB owns all the files on that and only leaked out little bits of it. Also, the government kind of officially closed it back then, but didn't officially close it. Then when it kept being stirred back up over the years, especially over the last couple of years, it became a real
when the Americans started getting interested in it. Let's be real.
That's when they said this case is closed. It's done. You know, you're not going to get any more information from us, the government.
But it's Russia, though. I mean, when Americans get involved, the Russians are like, "Oh yeah, no, none of your business. Go away."
Sorry. The Americans. That's true. Yeah. So let me read a little bit more, because it does talk about that. It says, today, the so-called Dyatlov Pass incident, named after the group's leader, 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, 23 years old, is one of Russia's most enduring mysteries, spawning conspiracy theories as varied as a military cover-up, a UFO sighting, an abominable snowman attack, radiation fallout from secret weapons tests, and a clash with the indigenous Mansai people. Sorry if I said that wrong. But as Robin George Andrews reports for National Geographic, new research published in the journal points toward a more sensible explanation, drawing in advanced computer modeling to posit that an unusually timed avalanche sealed the hiker's fate. So here's what this is what the guy says. We do not claim to have solved the Dyatlov Pass mystery, as no one survived to tell this story, but we show the plausibility of the avalanche hypothesis for the first time. And in 2019, Russian authorities announced plans to revisit the incident, which they attributed not to a crime, but to an avalanche, a snow slab, or a hurricane. The following year, the inquiry pinned the hikers' deaths on a combination of an avalanche and poor visibility. As the state-owned RIA news agency reported in July of 2020, the official findings suggested that a torrent of snow slabs or blocky chunks surprised the sleeping victims and pushed them to seek shelter at a nearby ridge. Unable to see more than 50 feet ahead, the hikers froze to death as they attempted to make their way back to their tent, giving the official findings lack of key scientific details, as well as the Russian government's notorious lack of transparency. However, this explanation failed to quell the public's curiosity, because it doesn't explain the injuries.
No.
Well, you got to also think, when they left their tents, Lily's proven that they cut the tents with their knives. They cut
from the inside
out. Yeah, from the inside out. That's how they left the tents. Also, it was also discovered that some of the clothes they were finding, some of them left the tent just in their underwear. They just had long johns on.
Yeah, we were just
actually took their clothes off while they were running too.
Which you do take your clothes off if you're hypothermic.
Yes.
It's like you start to strip. So Area 51 brought up a really good point, and I do want to get into the Mothman just a little bit here. But Area 51 said there's supposed to be way more photos. That is true. Yeah.
Yes.
There were a lot missing because they numbered them, because
kept them,
the old timey cameras that this guy had, for advanced as it was in 1957 or whenever this 1959, whenever this happened in the late 50s, for advanced and expensive as those cameras were, nowadays they're antique. We can tell which photo was taken when. There are missing photos that were given to the public, like these are the photos that were taken. But then we see this photo of a possible Yeti, possible military, possible guy in a weird looking snowsuit. You know, it almost looked to me like one of those, I love the name of them, but I can't think of it now. Those suits that you wear when you like are hiding in grass.
The ghillie suits.
That's it. I love that name. The ghillie
suits. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, actually, Gemma, you have to check out the movie The Devil's Pass. It is a really good movie.
Juan just said that. I said I'm going to check it out. Yeah, definitely. Because I have all the subscriptions to all of them. So if you guys want to say a couple more things about Dyatlov, I do want to get into this encounter with the Mothman, and see what Ryan thinks about that.
Talk about that one a lot.
The Mothman is pretty popular, and especially here in Ohio.
Oh yeah,
out on Portsmouth and all there. It's a big topic. But you also have to remember the Mothmans have been seen in Chicago. He's been seen in New York. He was seen in Russia just before Chernobyl. And a lot of people don't talk about that.
Yeah, the Black Bird of Chernobyl.
Yeah, and they think that was a Mothman too.
Yep, they do. If you really want to know a lot about the Mothman, talk to Ashley Hilt. She's a Mothman specialist.
She's smart.
She knows her stuff. She'll blow you away with her Mothman knowledge.
Let me write that name down. Guys, so here's what happened. Long story long, I was just kind of looking through encounters in the woods to kind of take a break because I've been doing true crime. I like to switch it up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never talked about the Mothman before. It never even crossed my mind. I'd be like, Mothman, pass it up and move on to the next thing. Right. And I found this couple that, and this will be in Monday's video, but I've got to give it away because I need to ask you, Ryan, about it. This couple, they were out just trying to have a good time on their night off. They were going to take a hike. When they stopped to ask for directions, the guy that they had asked for directions, like basically on the side of the road, and he gives them directions. He says, if you guys really want to have a good time, go to this spot in Point Pleasant. They lived around there in a little cabin in the woods, and they were traveling to this other part of the woods in Point Pleasant. He's like, a lot of paranormal activity happens there. You guys will have fun. The wife and husband are complete skeptics. Of course they are. And they're going and messing with something that they know nothing about. And I get into that in the video as a medium, as someone who sees the dead all the time and deal with everything I deal with. I don't know why anyone would do that. But they make a stop at Walmart specifically to pick up an digital recorder. So they go there, they're asking, is anyone out there? Who's there? They don't hear anything audibly. They're like, this is beat. We're going home. They go home. As they listen, she said, we just did it to kind of like make sure. She's like, we didn't really expect anything to be on there. They hear a grovelly voice saying, I'm here. All of a sudden, and I won't get into specific details, they keep hearing that. They're haunted. This thing is in their house. One incident, she goes to take a shower. She locks the bathroom door. She sees someone standing in the shower behind the curtain. That's like everyone's biggest fear. I always check behind the shower curtain when I go to the bathroom.
I do too.
People's houses. So
me too.
Because we're weirdos, and I love it. I embrace it. But this thing puts its hand up, and it's like this gnarly looking hand. And the husband had already seen it. He said it was the Mothman in front of him, spread its wings and attacked the car or whatever. There's a lot of I'm just trying to give like the short story. So anyway, she turns around about a second later. The thing's gone after she hears a very loud shriek. The shriek is very important. It happens a lot in their encounter story. And there's all of these long finger marks, hand marks in like this ashy soot type substance going down their wall, and the symbol of a triangle with a point in the middle. This is very cultish. She went to open the bathroom door. It burned her hand, and she had ash and soot on it. The husband was trying to open from the other side. Same thing. To me, this sounds like it looked like the Mothman, but doing what I do for a living, it sounds incredibly demonic. First of all, the Mothman isn't known to talk, is it?
Not really. Not really. And my theory on ghosts and spirits is if you're a skeptic, the ghosts kind of have something to prove to you because they can sense it. They can pick up your vibe. So if you go out there and you don't believe and you're doubting this stuff, I think the ghosts and spirits go, oh, so you're a tough guy, huh? You don't want to believe. So let me do this and I'll mess with you and see how you feel afterwards. But it's not unheard of that the Mothman is compared to supernatural stuff. I mean, even Ashley will tell you that he's like ultra terrestrial. He's interdimensional. So,
Yes.
you know, maybe it's something that was mimicking the Mothman in some way.
That's what I think, like a projection, because like, oh, you're out
Yeah.
here looking for the Mothman. Well, I'm going to give you the Mothman. They even
Yeah.
tried moving. And I said, because as I go through the stories in all of my videos, I type the script out as I go through. So I don't watch it first because I want to have a genuine reaction to it.
Right.
And they moved. And I even said, I'm like, moving is not going to stop if you as a person are haunted, right? If the house is haunted, that's a different story. But if you're haunted, you're taking, and they say to this day, this thing still torments them. And I'm just like, doesn't the Mothman have better things to do? What do you think the Mothman is, in your opinion, Ryan? And then Ghostdragonzw will ask you.
Honestly, I think it's like a interdimensional thing. I don't think it means any bad juju. It's not bad business. I think he's just kind of a visitor that shows up when he wants to. I think if you see the Mothman, it's because he wants you to see him. You know, just do the presto change. Oh, here I am, and then poof, I'm gone. So
flapping the wings and I'm gone.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's curious. I think maybe he wonders, you know, what humans are doing. Like, why do you keep going to this TNT? Or so fascinating about this, you know? So I don't think he's evil. I think these people, though, I think they got an attachment. That's what I think they got.
Oh, they definitely have an attachment. But like I said, I was surprised that they think it's the Mothman. But then I'm not really surprised because they're skeptics. They didn't even know to call in.
Well, that makes you wonder, though, Gemma. Did they do more than they're saying? But they got an attachment. Did they do something they shouldn't have done out there?
I believe they were more antagonistic than they let on.
That's what I'm wondering.
Like, my husband is a big skeptic, and I said when I speak in July, hopefully at this haunted bed and breakfast in Gettysburg, I was invited. I said I'm going to bring him because he says if a ghost tapped me on the shoulder and told me to believe, I would not believe. He's so closed off. Opposites attract, right?
Whoa.
He's so closed off. There are things that happen. He's oblivious to it, and there are people like that. So I want to take him because I know we've talked to Dave Strader about this when we met him at Para Unity. Like always the wives drag the husbands to these events and the husbands end up getting attacked or they end up getting these attachments because they're doing things like, oh yeah, there's no such thing as ghosts. And they're being very antagonistic. And so one thing I caution friends, clients, whoever asks me, never antagonize a spirit, whether you think it's good or bad. How would you like it?
Exactly. That's the same rule that I follow with my skinwalker studies. Don't antagonize it by any means. Be respectful and don't talk trash. Yeah, don't talk trash. If you talk trash, it's going to show up and it'd be like, oh, so you were talking some ish, huh? You know, let's see how tough you are now. So I don't ever.
You know, in China, they curse at ghosts. They actually start calling them names.
That's probably why they have so much stuff going on.
Oh,
I mean,
that's why they're so violent. Yeah.
Japan
it's funny because in Japan it's different. In Japan it's a lot different. They don't want you to disrespect the spirits at all. It's total respect.
Whole different ball game.
Do you know what's weird? When I do my research, I go through several sites that talk about the paranormal and I dig more into subjects I see there. On this one site that I use almost exclusively, every other article, every other podcast is Ghosts of Japan, Monsters of Japan, Mermaids of Japan, Beasts of Japan. It's like this. There's got to be something going on over there. I mean, forget.
It's a crazy place. As one that's been there, it's an interesting take. They are very, very respectful of everything. Even of their legends, because to them, their myths and legends are very real and very substantial. Very part of the culture.
Yeah.
For sure. It's ingrained in the culture there. Yeah.
Yeah. They have memorial days for those spirits where they actually have like little parades and they have festivals and lantern festivals and, you know, all these different celebrations for the ghosts. So
I want to clarify, Ghostdragonzw, before you speak, for anyone listening, when we're talking about being respectful, I want to clarify that, like, if you're dealing with a demonic force or something very low vibrational, you don't out loud say, I respect you. That's kind of joining forces with the entity. Just know inside of yourself that you're not going to antagonize. And I always use this as an example. And then Ghostdragonzw, I'm going to give you the floor because I know I've been interrupting you all day as usual. I'll say like, how would you feel if you're a spirit, nobody's talked to you in like 200 years? Sometimes you don't even know you're dead, right? You're so confused. What's going on? and someone comes in and sticks these things in your face and you're like, tell us your name. And you creep over and you're really scared and you're like, Gemma. And the person hears you and goes, oh my God, they said Gemma, and starts running. That would scare the crap out of somebody. Don't do that, please. I don't watch paranormal investigation shows because, one, I think a lot of it's BS, but two, they scream in these spirits' faces. Could you imagine? You had no one to talk to for, centuries. And you just, Gemma, and they're going crazy, screaming in your face, and don't do that. Don't ask for something you're not prepared for.
When I die, I better not get one of those TikTokers looking for me, man. I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be a jerk about it. Like, oh, you're going to learn today.
I tell my kids,
going to learn today.
Do something, I always tell my kids, when you do something wrong, you're going to feel smack upside the back of your head, and you're going to know it's me.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
don't ever do that to me, Coach.
Slow motion, I've been there. I've been in the forest.
I was just responding to that.
Yes, I've been there. I've been in this forest. It's creepy. It's a bad vibe. I told Ryan, when you go in, it's like a weight pushing you down.
Well, when you're sensitive, you could feel stuff like that. My husband, my stepfather. So my stepfather, same thing. He's actually the one who said, if a ghost tapped me on my shoulder and tells me to believe, I'm not believing. And he would see things. When I'm around and my kids are around and my mom's around, you're going to see stuff. You can ask Ghost Dragons. It's inevitable. You will see things, even if you don't. If you're open and sensitive, you're going to see it. My 19-year-old is a super medium. Like his whole life, he'd be like, Mom, don't walk down the stairs yet. There's a guy down there. And I don't even see it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Creepy. But
that is creepy.
With him, he never believed. He never believed. He refused to believe. And he actually looked exactly like Tony Soprano, but he wouldn't watch horror movies because he was afraid of blood. So picture Tony Soprano going, oh, I can't watch that, right? That's who he was. But towards the end of his life, he needed like a kidney transplant and had some diabetes issues, but it happened right during COVID. So he ended up catching the vid and then he passed. But right before, when he was in the hospital, he finally said, I'm seeing these men in top hats walking past my room every night. He goes, finally, I just effing waved to them. He goes, okay, fine. I don't know what they're there for. Then he said he was seeing these little green gremlin creatures jumping all around, and he started throwing it. Like, he believed in it so much that he started throwing the garbage can at it. And, we never understood what those things were. Do you have an idea?
No, I don't, but I'm definitely have to look into that. See if people have.
Yeah, I would love to know. Why him?
I believe we talked about this before, and I never really gave you an answer. I believe they were feeding off the fear of he feared death. He knew
he did.
So he was fearing it, and they were feeding off of it. And sometimes that's why they tell you when your time comes, try to let it go.
Like in hospitals,
these things will come and feed off of that.
Yeah,
I have and I feel like they're always there, though. It's just like a matter of he was probably his soul, because if you guys don't know this, your soul will start, even if you're not terminally ill, will start preparing for your death about 4 months in advance before you even know what's coming. Most of the time, even involving accidents, things that you're not expecting, your soul will know and it'll start preparing. I think he was just so open. When someone with Alzheimer's says, I'm seeing so-and-so and so-and-so passed 20 years ago, please believe them, because people with Alzheimer's are not sick. They are happier and half on the other side. That's all that's going on with them, is that they're half in spirit. And that's a beautiful, amazing thing. I have a once a month doctor appointment where I have to go to a hospital. It takes me all day. Now, someone like me in a hospital is not a good thing. I have to go there and completely shut down. It's hard for me to even breathe. Thank God we don't have to wear masks anymore. But with my stepfather, one more quick thing is right before he passed, we had no idea he was going to pass. And he kept saying, if I catch that, I'm going to die, whatever. So my little guy was like 3 years old and he said, I want to call Pop-Pop. I said, we're not calling Pop-Pop. We're going to leave him alone. He's in the hospital. He insisted, and my son doesn't do that. He insisted we call Pop now. So it was like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, all right, we call my stepfather. He's crying. And I'm like, I love you. You raised me, blah, blah, blah. I talked to him. And a couple hours later, he's put in a medically induced coma that he never comes out of. So I do think he was preparing. And I do think there are entities in hospitals that feed on that. And I think the top hat men, I hear about them a lot. They're just some of the guides that bring you through. He didn't say he was scared of them. he just said they pass by every night and like wave to me. And it was so amazing after knowing him for 30 something years for him to finally open up to the other side, right? And that's how I know he was ready, because he finally was ready.
Go.
Yeah, I don't do little creatures. Yeah, it's like, little gremlin monsters. So Ryan, this hour always goes by so fast. So I want to extend an invitation to you to come back on weekly if you'd like. If you can't, one week, just let us know. You have an open invitation. You want to come on next week. I think having the third person really helps the conversation, even though I know I dominated today.
That's okay.
It's feeling a lot better than I was a few weeks ago, and I've been kind of low, and I'm just really excited to feel like Gemma again and be back. But I want to extend, Ghost and I talked about it, for you to just keep coming back on, because you have extensive knowledge. And even when we're just kind of chit-chatting, it's very interesting, the things that come up. I would recommend you guys watch Yeti Attack on Investigation Discovery. I'm going to give it to you guys now.
I want to say something real quick about Mothman, because a lot of people don't, and I think the little lady will tell you the same thing from down there. A lot of people thought of Mothman as an omen of bad things. He always seemed to show
harbinger.
Up. A harbinger. He wasn't bringing it. He was like a warning. Hey, I'm here. You better pay attention. There's pictures that they say are fake of the thing on the bridge. They say those are fake. But I had a number of people tell me those are not fake. And there is a number of pictures of this thing on that bridge 2 to 3 days before it collapsed.
I think he's curious.
There are watcher entities that are interdimensional that come and watch just to watch. A lot of people think the Mothman was feeding on the disaster, and I just don't get an evil or malevolent energy from him. That's probably why I crossed right over him and passed right over him, because I talk about things that are, scary to a lot of people, and I kind of keep that spook factor. But with the Mothman, I never got that. Nothing I read, nothing I watched. Granted, I've never seen one face to face, but there's just something in the energy of that being that I do feel, if it's extraterrestrial, interdimensional, whatever it is, I feel like it's very benevolent. I don't feel like it's extra kind, going out of its way to help, but I feel like it's watching humanity, which is why I lean towards extraterrestrial.
Maybe it's forbidden to help.
That's a lot of spirits are.
Yeah, it's human history. Things can't enter in history. So,
I had a person tell me once that they thought it was an angel, because angels don't look like what we think they look like.
Oh, angels
are an angel coming to tell these people, hey, something really bad is going to happen.
I think he's just curious, man. I think he shows up and he's like, "Oh, so this is what's going to happen." I'm just going to chill and watch. He just kind of
not even realizing that he's causing all this drama.
Yeah.
You guys just reminded me of something. I was talking about kindness and benevolence. I was watching this thing about this massive tsunami or something that like took out. I can't even give you more details because it just popped into my head. I remixed a lot of the guy that was involved. His videos. He's a YouTuber. He's a young kid. His family was involved. His name is Noah J. Wood. I love him. I remix a lot of his stuff for shorts. But anyway, so I think it was his family. And if not, whatever, there was this family. Everything was falling down around them. Their house was crashing around. Okay. Maybe we could pick this back up next week.
Okay.
They look up, their roof gets blown off, and they know they're going to die. There's a small child, I think 2 bigger children, and the mom and dad. The mom's trying to protect the kids. They all look up and see these giant butterfly people. Human body, butterfly wings, holding their house down as though the butterfly person was the roof.
Whoa.
To protect them. Other little ones, orbs floating all around. They go outside after the butterfly people leave. Nobody survived. The whole town was taken out. I don't know if it was a tsunami or if it was some kind of earthquake or there was some
I believe it was a tornado. I believe it was.
Yes, it could have been a tornado. It like was right there, dropped right down. They were going to die. So what I'd like you to do is maybe see if you could pick up anything and what these butterfly people were. And I'm going to look into it too, because I've never talked about this before. I'm going to find the actual event so I can show people. Like, so I saw it on YouTube. It was real. It was on a show on TV that they put on YouTube. But yeah, these butterfly, They said they looked exactly like butterflies, but with a human body. To me, that sounds fae.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think you're right on that one.
But it's like, why that family? You know, were they in the bloodline? But that reminds me of like the Mothman. I don't get a protective feeling like the butterfly people, but I also don't get malevolence like the Jeepers Creepers do. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and that's kind of how these people described that haunting thing that was haunting them. Was it reminded me right of the Jeepers Creepers guy, not so much Mothman, but the show on ID, Terror in the Woods, said Mothman. But I think they were dealing with something completely different.
I don't know, man. If I saw the Jeepers Creepers guy, I would not be happy. I would not be a happy guy. That's no, thank you.
My oldest son has one.
Just not the director.
My oldest son has one green eye and one blue eye, and each eye has yellow, like yellowy orange in the middle. I think it's called chromatica or something like that. Hypochromia, heterochromia, something like that. But anyway, when he was little, he only had these bright gray, yellow wolf-looking eyes, and I would sing that song to him. And then that movie came out, and it became something completely different.
Yep, 100%. I met the guy who played the creeper. So
did you?
Yeah, Jonathan Breck. He's a really sweet guy. Funny thing is, though, look him up, Gemma. You're gonna see it's like, wait, that's the creeper because he's too good looking.
Really?
He's too handsome. You see him? I walked up to him. I'm like, there's no way you're the creeper. And he's like, no, I did play the creeper. I'm like, no, you didn't. You're too good looking to have played that thing. And he's like, no, that is me. I promise you that's me. And I'm like, no, it isn't. You're lying. And then he showed me the set photos. I'm like, oh, it is you.
That's like the guy who played the new Pennywise. I was like,
Skarsgård.
How? You know, because I was obsessed with the other Skarsgård from True Blood. Yeah, I couldn't believe it because you guys know I love Pennywise. It's my favorite besides Michael. But if you guys have anything else, and then I'll take it away.
Take it away.
I'm going to meet Steven on Fortnite.
Oh, there you go. Uh-oh.
I need to get my hour in before my son gets home and dominates. So.
Well, he won't get to play with me if we play. I'm going to have to cut the grass after we're done.
Area
1. That is a great compliment. Thank you.
So I was trying to put it up. Ryan is making me one of his cryptid models, and I can't wait. I'm going to show you guys once, it gets here. Kira, I am. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I finally decided to go with the glare because that song, Stay in the Truck. Okay, guys, if you like, it was so random. I don't listen to country music. It had me bawling. Okay. So, all right, Ryan, I hope we'll see you next week.
Absolutely, you will.
You can come every week. And if you ever can't, just tell us, the day before. I think, again, having a third person is really cool. Plus, my mom loves both of you. So now I've got my mom's guys on the show. Maybe it'll drag her in and get her off her butt. So
that'd be nice.
Ryan, definitely, if you have time, look into the butterfly people and the disaster. I think it was a tornado.
Absolutely.
I'm going to look into it too and find the original thing, and I'll send you the link. It was very short.
Okay, yeah. Please do that so I can look that up.
Yeah. Okay. I'll find it today or tomorrow. I will send it to you. I have your phone number, so I'll text you. And if you need anything else, just text me, and that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Okay. Sounds great.
Bye, sweetie.
Yeah, bring me more Wendigos. I like those crispy Wendigos.
His knowledge is so extensive. It's really cool. And we've been wanting a third or like someone to interview on the show for a long time. So I think we found our fit.
And I enjoy talking to him. We get it going at night too before he passes out on me.
Listen, guys, just so everyone knows, full disclosure, before this stream started, it was me, Ryan, and Ghost Dragons. We were all three in the stream. And I said, I just have to run to the restroom, the bathroom real quick. And then I'm coming back. I come back. And do you want to know what they were talking about? Their hair. They were talking about their hair. I'm just saying. Ghost Dragons, I'm going to throw you out. And I'm going to talk to them about what's going on with the channel and the book. And then we're going to head out of here.
All right. Yeah. Later, folks. Have a good one. I'm going to go cut.
Bye,
I'm going to wait for her, and then I'll go cut.
If you want to go cut the grass, you can do that, and then play with little guy later. I'd rather that because that'll give me some time.
No. Okay.
Later. Whatever you want to do. Just text me and let me know in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Bye, sweetie. Yeah, he really does fit in well. You guys seem to love him very much, and it's just like that extra oomph for the conversation. I get really excited learning new things, and because I don't know a lot about cryptids, I've never been really interested in them until very recently. It's cool for me because it's all of this new knowledge that I never had before. It's not like the same old conversations. Just so you guys know, I'm pretty sure May 1st, my book Gone Mysterious Disappearances Volume 1 is coming out. That'll be on Amazon Kindle paperback, possibly Audible, I'm not sure. And it's just Mysterious Disappearances, Eric Lewis. I mean, there's so many. Hannah Up. All of these cases I've covered here on the channel, or that we've covered at MPNM, or that I just came across. But in the last paragraph or so, I do talk about paranormally, supernaturally, otherworldly. What do I think happened to these people? And I do it very respectfully. I'm not trying to put a spook factor on the stories and hurt anybody. I just think that when there's no other answer, we should be looking out there, you know, out in the spiritual realm. Diane, thank you so much. Yeah, please text me. That'd be great. Most of y'all have my number anyway. Monday, we're going to be talking about encounters with the Mothman and just the Mothman in general at 12 noon Eastern time. And at 11, I have Encounters in the Woods. That's basically what I can call it. I think I called it Terrifying Encounters in the Woods or something like that. And then I will see you guys Friday night at 7:15 p.m. Eastern for live Intuitive Oracle. Ghost Dragons will be here tomorrow night at 10 for a chill and chat. I'm not sure what's going on with Miss Pixie because I know she's on vacation. If she's going to be back in time for Thursday. But then you got me and Ghost Dragons on Friday, Ghost Dragons at midnight on Saturday doing replays of my old videos. Don't forget to check me out on TikTok, Gemma_Jade_YT. I don't do much on there. I'm still learning, but it'd be great because once I get 1,000 followers, I can get monetized. Donations, PayPal, Cash App. Join my Patreon, become a member, whatever y'all can do. This is my income. So I love hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for coming in. Have a great rest of your day or rest of your night, wherever you are. And love, light, and so many blessings. Bye-bye.